Welcome back to the Schmo 2 Pro, where I treat my life like a real life Let's Play in my attempt to get from the realms of semi-professional football to real professional football. To this point, I've played a few games and I've kicked in front of numerous scouts, and I'm finally starting to find my game time rhythm since I haven't played in a couple of years. I'm on a good diet, and my workout routine and weekly schedule I have for kicking is working for me pretty well, so now the key is to consistency with that schedule. So today, there's a bit of a new story that's going to be going on over the next couple of weeks during this series as I try to learn the valuable skill of kickoff. See, our kicker can't travel to away games, meaning there's no better time for me to learn how to do something like this than right now. So I went over to Dick's and they didn't have the kickoff tee that I wanted, so I said screw it, I'll just get this pointy one. And next thing you know, I'm on the field doing some one-steps, trying to get consistent contact, and at some point I'm probably going to have to go to a coach to push myself further, but with everything I've learned from being around high-level kickers for years and years, I should be able to at least get a couple of the basics down before I need additional help. That being said, this is going to be a long journey, so stay tuned to see if we can master this part of the game, but you all are used to my regular routine by now. I work out, I kick. Since I was feeling really solid this week, I just practiced the same things as last week, and let's go ahead and jump to game day. We're taking on the Sumter Sharks, and some projections have us losing in a final score of 40-0 in the Sharks' favor. That being said, I read through a lot of your advice on game day gear and decided to go with a single red arm sleeve on my guide hand and a navy sleeve on my kicking leg to spice things up for the game, but I'll be using more of your suggestions from here on out. I also busted out the PUNT towel, so if you're trying to rock some of this sweet game day swag, you're in luck because I sell them on the iPunts merch website, and the link will be in the description, so go get yours. I'm also changing the game setting from my plays only to spectate mode when I'm not on the field, because there have been some requests to see how an offense can manage to even put up a whopping 14 points across 4 games, so we're gonna look into that. But as you can tell, coming out onto the field, we had another windy day, and the wind will be moving from the left side of the screen to the right side of the screen. Warm-ups was going pretty well. I felt like I was striking the ball clean, mostly focusing on staying cool, calm, and collected while punting into this heavy wind. On the flip side, I noticed that the breeze was kind of going over my right shoulder when punting with it at my back, and with those familiar with both of my channels, you may realize this is a great time to pull out the rover punt, where I keep it low and drive a long spiral away from the returner to the left. I hadn't ever actually done this in a game because I only learned this style of punt after I was out of college, but given the right situation, I still wanted to practice it pregame in case I might bring it out. Then the game began, and we forced a fumble to recover the ball on the opposite side of the field on kickoff, which was nice, but then after that we would mishandle the snap and go down, losing around 4 to 5 yards, throw a backwards pass that we'd miss out on, losing another 10, and then complete a pass into a soft zone coverage with it going about 7 yards to bring up 4th and 13, where we would go for a pass over the middle, throwing it a hair behind the receiver, which was incomplete for a turnover on downs. Now, typically our defense is this bright spot of our team, but I'll say this, the Sharks are very well coached with a team full of good playmakers, so when this play broke down, their QB was able to scramble and find and complete a pass across his body where our DB went for the ball instead of just taking the player down, resulting in a big chunk yardage play. After this though, our defense came in strong and forced a stop, leading to a turnover on downs in our favor. And this is where our offense was able to put together a couple of plays here and there, and we got the ball across midfield, heck, even across the positive 30, but then a big sack ruined that momentum, leading us to a 4th down on the plus 44 yard line, where you see me for the first time back on the reins. Now, I had a big wind at my back here, so looking at this field, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to hit. The grass was a little muddy, so I wanted to try a lower drop punt to see if I could get it to hit a wet spot and then sort of spin out and just stick inside the 5. And you know what? I put it at the 1 yard line and it was low, but I didn't quite get the bounce that I wanted with it going through the end zone for a touchback. In hindsight, this would have been a good time to try a banana punt, but I had never done that punt in a game either, so I was a little timid about it. But the Sharks got the ball back and drove 80 yards to end the quarter and score in the first play of the second quarter, getting the score 6-0. We didn't do much with the ball when we got the ball back, with our offense now stalling between the minus 35 and minus 45 yard line, which is where I'd ultimately punt from, and now I was staring down a nice heavy little headwind, but having just kicked a touchback, I was trying to just place it between the 10 and the 20 yard line, aiming for a high fair catch. The ball went about 40 yards in the air with 4.8 seconds of hang time, which the returner wanted nothing to do with. Unfortunately, it bounced right into another player's arms who took it 3 yards forward to the 18, which for the situation isn't the end of the world. The Sharks actually marched down and scored quicker than my videographer expected, giving us the ball back and leaving the score at 14-0, and we opted to switch quarterbacks to try to give our offense a little life. But a mishandled snap made sure that dream of offensive life would be dead for this drive, and a couple plays later I found myself trotting back out onto the field. So on 4th down though, we had some serious miscues on punt, and I was trying to figure out what was happening with our own personnel, and by the time I realized where we were going wrong with personnel lining up, the play was blown dead and I was given a delay of game penalty. So that's the second one I've had on my career. The snap came in just a bit high, and in my peripheral I knew that I was going to be getting some contact. So I got the ball off as quick as I could, trying to draw the running into the kicker flag, and it luckily still went 35 yards in the air and rolled another 9 yard, giving me a net of 44, where one of my teammates thought the returner was going to try to make a play on it and picked it up, but that ball definitely could have kept going. And I'm still not sure how I didn't get that flag, by the way. They definitely made some illegal contact with me, but whatever. Maybe I need to practice more on flopping. Luckily, we got a turnover, but our offense, for whatever reason, still couldn't seem to find any rhythm. So 3 plays later, yours truly was back out on the field where I am facing down dang near the same situation as last time, but this time the ball's on the 20 instead of the 15, and nobody gets through the middle clean, so I get off a nice little 50-yard ball with 4.4 seconds of hang, which is definitely not bad into the breeze, but it gets returned to the 50-yard line after a couple of whiff blocks, and luckily for our team though, we only had a couple seconds left in the half, which brought us to halftime. The third quarter was actually quite eventful, with the Sharks coming out and scoring, bringing us to 20-0, but we tried our third quarterback, and then you know what? 2 drives in a row, he was able to connect for touchdowns, giving us a lot of life and bringing the score of 20-14. And I wish I could say we just used this momentum to roll through this game and absolutely dominate the Sharks, but that's not what happened. They actually rolled us after this. So jumping straight ahead to 4 minutes left in the game, I was out to punt with a score of 32-14, and I noticed something. The returner was lined up way to my right, and I had that wind going over my right shoulder once again, albeit it's not as strong as it was earlier in the day, and everything was set up for me to hit that rover punt. So now I'm feeling pretty good that I had practiced it, and I had kept telling myself I was gonna do it if given the opportunity. I have never been more nervous for a punt because I'd never actually done this style in a game, but you know what? When that ball got back to me, everything just clicked. I kept my drop low, extended it a bit, swung across my body through the sweet spot, and you know, all things considered, it was probably maybe a little bit lower than what I wanted, but that thing shot like a rocket off my foot, going what looks like 63 to 64 yards in the air across the field from the returner, so he couldn't get to it and return it, and then it rolls directly into the end zone, giving me a 68-yard punt, netting 48 of those yards. So that is my new career long. But all that being said, I get to add 3 clips to my tape: a 40-yarder 4.8 sky punt into a breeze, a 50-yard 4.4 with solid direction, and a misdirection 60-plus yard field flipper. So another good week of stacking good days onto my journey from Joe Schmo to pro.
Wow, that was so far.